I can even explain why Steve Urkel worked. I remember I watched Family Matters, and I was like, man, this show ain't fun. But I still knew this was that show that wasn't as funny as The Cosby Show at the time.
What looked like a perfect family TV show has now left fans in shock after a dark exposé. As one of the most loved sitcoms 3 decades ago, people all over the world tuned in every Friday night to enjoy the stories of the Winslow family. But behind the laughter were hidden truths that fans never knew. For years, people believed that everyone behind the scenes was just as happy as they portrayed on screen. But as time passed, shocking stories began to unfold. What happened on set? And what secrets were hidden from the public for decades? Join us as we uncover the shocking truths. The disappearance of Judy Winslow. One of the confusing moments in Family Matters was the mystery behind Judy Winslow. The show premiered in September 1989, and it centered on the Winslow family. Eddie, the teenage son who always found himself in trouble, Laura, the smart daughter, and little Judy, the youngest Winslow, who was played by 9-year-old Jaime Foxworth. For 4 seasons, Judy appeared in nearly every episode, her innocent face becoming familiar to millions of families every Friday night. Then something unexpected happened in television history. This was after the appearance of an iconic character called Steve Urkel, played by Jaleel White. Between seasons 4 and 5, Judy Winslow climbed the stairs to her bedroom and never came back down. It was as though she never existed. The family that once had 3 children suddenly had 2, and everyone pretended like it was perfectly normal. However, it was revealed that one of the main reasons Judy was removed was due to budget cuts. As Family Matters grew more popular, especially with the rising success of Steve Urkel, a character introduced between episodes, producers decided to focus the show around the characters who were getting the most attention. Unfortunately, Judy was not so lucky. She was not considered important enough to the storyline. So instead of growing her character or finding ways to include her, the production team simply erased her. It was a calculated decision. Urkel's popularity was skyrocketing, and they needed more screen time for him.
Did I do that?
Judy Winslow later revealed that some cast members knew about her termination before she did. The producers believed they could simply erase her from the show without anyone noticing. However, after leaving the show, Jaime Foxworth, the actress behind Judy, did not have an easy journey. At 13, she found herself cast out from the only world she had ever known. The entertainment industry, which had welcomed her as a little child, suddenly had no place for a teenager whose character had been written out of the script. The message was clear. In Hollywood, anyone can be replaced. After Family Matters, Jaime Foxworth's life unraveled in frightening ways. The teenage girl who had once brought joy to millions of viewers found herself broke and forgotten. She began struggling to find work in an industry that had moved on without her. The little money she had earned from the show was no longer enough to sustain her family, and acting opportunities for child stars were rare. After the abrupt end of her career, Foxworth formed an R&B group, SHE, with her 2 sisters in a desperate attempt to build a career. They secured a record deal with Shaquille O'Neal's label and released their debut album in 1997. The album was a complete failure, as it failed to chart on Billboard. It was a step backward and left Foxworth even more financially desperate. Moving forward, Foxworth made a decision that defined the rest of her life. A friend introduced her to the adult film industry, promising quick money for minimal work. What began as a single photo shoot for a swimsuit calendar quickly escalated into something much more serious. Under the stage name Crave, Foxworth appeared in over 100 adult films between 2000 and 2002. The innocent child who had once represented proper family values was now performing in explicit videos. The shame was overwhelming, and she struggled with it. Over time, she faced addictions and drove herself deeper into alcohol and drug abuse as she tried to numb the pain of her fallen reputation. The money that had initially seemed like salvation wasn't enough to rebuild her life, and the damage to her reputation made returning to the entertainment industry nearly impossible. Foxworth had traded her childhood innocence for a few $1,000s, and there was no going back. However, she entered rehab and started treatments. She took several therapy sessions and shared her story to help people avoid similar situations. As shocking as Judy's story is, another member faced an emotional challenge that is more complicated. Who is it? Jaleel White's silent struggles. While Jaime battled addiction, Jaleel White was experiencing his own hell behind the scenes of Family Matters. The young actor who brought Steve Urkel to life faced a hostile, toxic work environment that would have broken many adults, let alone a teenager just starting a career. White revealed that he was never welcomed by the original cast members. When people think of Family Matters, the first face that comes to mind is almost always Steve Urkel, with the suspenders, the thick glasses, the high-pitched voice, and the unforgettable "Did I do that?" catchphrase. Jaleel White became the heart of the show. Fans loved him instantly, and kids copied his voice. The producers quickly realized he was becoming the biggest star the series ever had. But while the world was falling in love with the character Urkel, Jaleel White himself was struggling behind the scenes. Jaleel joined when he was 12 years old, and he was originally supposed to appear as a guest star. To everyone, he was just another actor playing a minor character. But the moment he walked in, everything changed. His popularity exploded, and the show's focus shifted to center around him. However, his sudden rise to fame was not as exciting as the adult cast members made their resentment crystal clear. The tension reached a breaking point when White was asked to portray Myrtle Urkel, Steve's female cousin. The role required him to wear a dress and perform in drag, something that made several cast members extremely uncomfortable. Joe, Marie Payton, and Reginald Johnson criticized the young actor, calling him out for damaging the image of black men in entertainment. The psychological pressure on White was immense. It was obvious he was being blamed for creative decisions made by adult producers and writers. Yet, he was still just a teenager, trying to navigate the entertainment industry. His father eventually intervened, defending his son and declaring that White would never perform in drag again if it caused such distress. But the damage was done. White felt isolated on his own show. The cast that should have been his television family treated him like an outsider who had stolen their spotlight. The irony was devastating. Payton also made an alarming claim about White's aggressive temperament during the filming of an episode in Season 9. In it, the actor played Urkel's gangster cousin, Cornelius, who sought refuge from a rival by hiding in the Winslow family home. Payton alleged that her co-star, White, wanted to physically fight her when she objected to unspecified aspects of the shoot. Jaleel denied the claim and insisted it never happened. He claimed that despite the pressures he has faced from most of his co-actors, he has always maintained his patience and calm. Yet no matter how much he tried, he kept getting labeled, restricted, and pushed aside. This type of struggle is not uncommon for child actors, but Jaleel's case was unique because Urkel was a worldwide phenomenon. However, carrying that kind of pressure on young shoulders can be overwhelming. Behind closed doors, Jaleel was fighting to protect his real identity and his mental health. Another moment that shocked the fans even more was the sudden replacement of one of the most talented actresses. Who is the person, and what caused it? Harriet Winslow's replacement. For 8 long seasons, the character Harriet Winslow was the heart of the show. However, near the end of Season 9, she was suddenly replaced by another actress, leaving viewers confused. Judy Elder stepped into a difficult situation when she was hired to replace Jo Marie Payton as Harriet Winslow. The veteran actress, known for her work on shows like Martin, was tasked with taking over a role another performer had defined for nearly a decade. The transition was awkward for everyone involved. Elder was a talented actress, but she was playing a character that millions of viewers associated specifically with Payton's portrayal. The remaining cast members struggled to adjust to working with someone new. Reginald Johnson, who played Carl Winslow, also described the experience as weird. He compared it to getting divorced and immediately remarrying someone else. Obviously, the chemistry that he and Payton had built over 8 years couldn't be replicated overnight with a new actress.
Come on. Okay. Open him up.
Judy herself was placed in an unfair position. She was brought in to save a show that was already on its last legs. No matter how well she performed, she couldn't restore what had been lost when Payton left. Eventually, there were some reasons and explanations given pointing to why Payton left. To her, Family Matters began as a show about a black middle-class family dealing with everyday life. But as the seasons passed, something changed. The show slowly became The Steve Urkel Show, which she didn't enjoy. In her words, there were more jokes and more moments designed to focus only on Jaleel White's character. Marie Payton, in particular, felt the original family storylines were disappearing. She had already been vocal about how the writers handled Judy Winslow's removal. She openly expressed that removing a child from the family without explanation didn't feel right. Then the scripts shifted again, and each time Harriet's role became a little smaller. Some fans think she just walked away because she was tired, but the truth is deeper. Jo Marie was dealing with frustration, disagreements with producers, and a sense that the show she helped build was becoming something she no longer recognized. She also went through a divorce with her husband. All of these were a lot of pressure on her. Yet, she stayed as long as she could. She honored her contract and continued playing the role even when she felt overlooked. But by season 9, she had reached her breaking point. There was a clause in her contract allowing her to leave halfway through the season, and she took it. Therefore, the production team had no choice but to replace her quickly. And so Judy Ann Elder stepped in as the new Harriet. She did her best with the role. She delivered her lines and tried to match Jo Marie's energy. But to fans, it wasn't the same. Judy Ann's brief tenure as Harriet Winslow became a footnote in television history. However, Marie Payton was not the only cast member with a shocking reality. Another character, Eddie Winslow, also had a hidden struggle during and after the show. Eddie's life story. Darius McCrae, the actor who played Eddie Winslow, seemed to have everything going well for him during the Family Matters show. He was always the cool and charming one who loved basketball.
We made a valiant effort, but it looks like Willow Glen has found our one weak spot.
What's that, Coach?
Basketball.
Chased girls around, joked with his dad, and did things that were funny enough to make the audience laugh. But behind the cameras, McCrae was developing behavior that was dangerous to his personal life and complicated his career. One thing about McCrae, unlike every other child actor on the show, was that he wasn't new to Hollywood. By the time he joined Family Matters at 13, he had already gained first-hand industry experience. As a child actor, he experienced stress navigating an industry that was not always kind or understanding. Years later, Darius opened up about some of the trauma he experienced growing up too. As if that was not enough, the cast members became a problem for him. During the show, whenever controversies happened behind the scenes, Darius often found himself caught in the middle. He was close with almost everyone, so he ended up being the bridge between people, even when he was too young to handle that kind of emotional responsibility. However, the darkest part of his story emerged years after the show ended. In 2014, McCrae married Tammy Brawner, a member of the Harlem Globetrotters basketball team. What should have been a happy union quickly turned into a nightmare of alleged abuse, several accusations, and violence. In 2017, court documents revealed disturbing allegations against McCrae. Brawner claimed that his excessive drinking and drug use made him violent and unpredictable. The most shocking accusation involved their infant daughter. Brawner alleged that McCrae held their baby over a pot of boiling water while screaming that he wished she had never been born. The pattern of alleged abuse was terrifying. Brawner claimed McCrae would throw picture frames and other objects around their home, sometimes so they barely missed their young daughter. She also accused him of striking her and engaging in other forms of physical violence when he was intoxicated. A judge granted Brawner a restraining order and awarded her full custody of their daughter. McCrae was ordered to seek treatment for substance abuse and attend domestic violence intervention classes. He was also required to have court-appointed supervision during visits with his child, but McCrae's legal troubles did not end there. The court ordered him to pay significant child support, which was $1,366 per month, but his acting income had reduced to just $462 per month. When he failed to make payments, arrest warrants were issued. In October 2025, McCrae was arrested at the U.S.-Mexico border as a fugitive, held without bail in a San Diego jail. The irony was undeniable, and it escalated faster than normal. The actor who once played on America's favorite family show was now being portrayed as a danger to his own family. As emotional as Eddie's journey was, there was still one final secret hidden behind the scenes of Family Matters. A secret involving a cast member whose real-life tragedy shocked fans across the world. What happened to Laura Winslow? When you think of Family Matters, one character who always stood out was Laura Winslow. She was the smart and confident middle child of the Winslow family. Laura was the girl Steve Urkel loved endlessly from the beginning. In the show, Laura managed to balance school responsibilities, friendship drama, and family chaos. But behind that bright smile and perfect on-screen personality, the real story of the actress who played her, Kelly Shania Williams, was far more complicated than most fans ever knew. At the beginning of the show, Kelly was just a teenager, dealing with a level of attention and pressure she never expected. Every week, millions of viewers watched her as the lover of the most popular nerd, Steve Urkel. Her entire storyline often revolved around her reactions to Steve's wild inventions and emotional confessions. But while fans saw her growing into a confident young woman on screen, Kelly was privately dealing with a lot of struggles. Fame hit her early, and the pressure to look perfect and stay professional at all times started weighing heavily on her. She later admitted that acting full-time while attending school and facing constant public attention was overwhelming. It was a balance she was able to master on screen, but her reality was a totally different one. She was always stressed out. Kelly revealed that she felt like she never had the chance to simply be a normal kid. And things on set were not always as perfect as they seemed. As Steve Urkel became the star of the show, many main cast members felt pushed aside, and Kelly was right in the middle of it. Her character Laura was originally meant to be one of the show's central figures, but as the series proceeded, the spotlight shifted slowly away from her. Kelly loved her job, but she couldn't ignore what was happening. Many fans believe she struggled quietly with the fact that the show she grew up on was changing in ways she did not expect, considering that Laura's storylines were often overshadowed by Steve's growing popularity. That shift created tension among several cast members, and Kelly took part in the tension. When Family Matters finally ended in 1998, Kelly had spent nearly a decade playing Laura Winslow. Roles didn't come easily after that, and she struggled to break out of the Laura Winslow image the world had placed on her. However, unlike many actresses who push hard to stay in the spotlight, Kelly did something unexpected. She stepped away. The pressure and the weight of growing up on camera had drained her.
One day, my charms will overwhelm you. And then you'll fall into my arms and I'll bear you a busload of fun.
Kelly revealed that she needed time to rediscover herself and rebuild her confidence, which was exactly what she did at the end. Over the years, Kelly slowly shifted away from acting and turned her attention toward her personal life. She married, became a mother, and focused on giving back to young people in her hometown. While she still appears occasionally in interviews or small projects, she no longer chases Hollywood fame. Today, many fans still wonder what happened to Laura Winslow, the girl who was once at the center of Family Matters. But the truth is that she stepped away to protect her happiness and chose a quiet life over the demanding world of fame. And in many ways, that might be the bravest decision she has ever made to keep herself sane. Which of these revelations shocked you the most? And what are your opinions concerning the casts and the way they lived on and off the camera? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.